There is a word that has been placed inside your head like a slow-acting poison, and you have been carrying it around your entire life, thinking it was medicine. That word is professional. Say it out loud. Feel how it sits in your mouth. It sounds clean. It sounds respectable. It sounds like the kind of thing your mother wanted you to become. But here is what nobody told you. That word was not invented to help you. It was invented to trap you. And by the time you finish hearing this, you will understand exactly how deep that trap goes, who built it, why they built it, and most importantly, how to claw your way out before it swallows the rest of your life. Let me paint a picture for you. It is a Monday morning, 6:45. The alarm goes off, and a man rolls out of bed in a house he will not fully own for another 27 years. He puts on a suit that cost him $400 because someone told him you have to dress for the job you want. He drives a leased car to an office where he sits under fluorescent lights for 9 hours, doing work that a part of him, a part he has learned to silence, knows does not matter. He earns a good salary. Let us say $120,000 a year. And every single person in his life, his parents, his wife, his neighbors, they all look at him and say the same thing. He is doing well. He is a professional. But here is what nobody sees. He has $11,000 in credit card debt. His mortgage is underwater. He has not taken a real vacation, a vacation where he did not check his email in 6 years. And every Sunday night, right around 8 o'clock, a feeling settles into his chest like a stone dropping into a well. He cannot name it. He does not want to name it, because naming it would mean admitting that the entire structure of his life, every choice he made since he was 17 years old, was based on a lie someone else told him. That man is not a failure. That man is the product. He is the finished result of a system that took over a century to build. And the name of that system, the brand they put on it to make it go down smooth, is professionalism. Now, I know what you are thinking. You are thinking this is just another rant about corporate culture. Another guy on the internet telling you to quit your job and start a podcast. No, this is not that. This is a history lesson. Because the trap you are sitting in right now has roots that go back almost 100 years. And unless you understand how it was built, you will never see the walls. Let us go back. Let us go all the way back to the 1920s. America is roaring. The stock market is climbing like it will never stop. Factories are pumping out automobiles and radios and washing machines. And for the first time in human history, ordinary people, not kings, not landowners, but regular working people, start to have something dangerous. They start to have options. A man who could fix an engine could open his own shop. A woman who could sew could sell dresses out of her living room. People were becoming self-sufficient. And that, if you understand anything about power, is a terrifying development for the people at the top. Then comes 1929, the crash, the Great Depression, and suddenly millions of people who had been running their own small operations, their farms, their shops, their trades, they lose everything. They are desperate. And desperation, if you are a student of history, is the raw material from which all great systems of control are forged. The Depression did not just destroy wealth. It destroyed confidence. It made an entire generation terrified of independence. Your grandparents, or maybe your great-grandparents, they lived through that fear. They ate it for breakfast. And they passed it down to their children like a genetic disease. The message was simple. Do not take risks. Do not go out on your own. Find something safe. Find something stable. Get a job with a good company and stay there until you die. Now here is where the story gets interesting. Because in the 1930s and 40s, while ordinary Americans were just trying to survive, a group of very smart people in very expensive offices were designing something. They were not designing a product. They were designing a lifestyle. See, the great industrialists of that era, the men who ran the steel mills and the car factories and the banks, they had a problem. They needed workers. Not just any workers. They needed workers who would show up on time, follow instructions, not ask too many questions, and most importantly, not leave. They needed loyalty. But loyalty is expensive when you have to earn it. So they did something clever. They made loyalty a moral virtue. They turned showing up and shutting up into a character trait. They called it being professional. Think about what that word actually means when you strip away all the polish. A professional is someone who suppresses their own instincts in exchange for approval from an institution. A professional does not cry at work. A professional does not question the mission. A professional wears the right clothes, uses the right language, and never ever lets the mask slip. That is not a career. That is a performance. And we have been giving standing ovations to people who are slowly dying inside. The 1950s is when the machine really clicks into gear. World War II is over. The boys come home. And the American government, along with the largest corporations on earth, makes a deal with the middle class. The deal goes like this. You give us your time, your energy, your creativity, your youth. In exchange, we give you a house in the suburbs, a pension, health insurance, and the right to call yourself a respectable member of society. On the surface, it looks like a fair trade. But underneath, the math tells a very different story. Let me walk you through the math. A man starts working at 22. He retires at 65. That is 43 years. 43 years of 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year. That is roughly 10,750 days of his life given to an employer. In exchange, he gets maybe 15 good years of retirement before his body starts to fail. 15 years for 10,000 days. That is not a deal. That is a heist. But here is the genius of it. They made it feel like winning. They invented titles: junior associate, senior associate, vice president, executive vice president, senior executive vice president. Each title comes with a slightly bigger office, a slightly better parking spot, a slightly larger number on the paycheck, and each one acts like a hit of dopamine, just enough reward to keep you running on the wheel for another 3 to 5 years. It is the same mechanic used in slot machines. Small, intermittent rewards designed to prevent you from ever stepping back far enough to see the full picture. And the titles are not even the most dangerous part. The most dangerous part is the identity. Because at some point, usually around your late 20s or early 30s, something terrible happens. You stop having a job and you become your job. Someone asks you who you are at a dinner party, and the first thing out of your mouth is your title. I am a lawyer. I am an engineer. I am a financial analyst. You do not say, I am a father who loves building model trains with his son on Saturday mornings. You do not say, I am a woman who is slowly teaching herself to paint. You say the thing on your business card. And in that moment, the trap is complete. Because now, leaving the job does not feel like changing your career. It feels like killing yourself. Your identity is fused to the institution, and the institution knows it. That is why they can ask you to work weekends and you say yes. That is why they can pass you over for a promotion and you stay. That is why they can lay you off after 20 years and you feel like you have been erased, because in a very real sense, you have been. You gave them your name, and they used it until it was worn out, and then they handed it back to you in a cardboard box, along with a photo of your family and a desk plant that is already dying. Now let me tell you about the machine that keeps this whole system running, because the trap is not just psychological. It is financial. And this is the part most people refuse to look at because it is too uncomfortable. The entire structure of modern middle-class life is designed around one principle: spending tomorrow's money today. You graduate from college with debt. You buy a car with debt. You buy a house with debt. You furnish the house with debt. And every single one of those debts requires one thing: a monthly payment. And a monthly payment requires one thing: a monthly paycheck. And a monthly paycheck requires one thing: a job. You see the chain now, do you not? Debt is the collar. The paycheck is the leash. And the job title, the professional identity, that is the lock. This did not happen by accident. In the years after World War II, consumer credit was deliberately expanded. The credit card was introduced in 1950. Diners Club, the first one, a little piece of cardboard that let you buy a meal now and pay for it later. It seemed so innocent, so convenient. But the men who designed these instruments understood something profound about human psychology. They understood that once a person tastes a lifestyle slightly above their means, they will do almost anything to maintain it. They will work jobs they hate. They will endure bosses who humiliate them. They will sacrifice their health, their marriages, their relationship with their children, all to keep the monthly number flowing, because the alternative, the thought of losing the house, the car, the status, that is more terrifying than a slow and quiet death of the spirit. And the corporations knew this. Oh, they knew it well. That is why they never paid people quite enough to be free. Think about that. In any major city, the average professional salary is calibrated almost perfectly to cover the cost of a professional lifestyle with almost nothing left over. You make enough to lease the German car, but not enough to buy it outright. You make enough to pay the mortgage, but not enough to pay it off early. You make enough to go on vacation once a year, but not enough to take 6 months off and ask yourself what you actually want from this life. That is not coincidence. That is engineering. The system is not broken. The system is working exactly as it was designed. And this is where the villain comes in. But the villain is not a person. It is not some shadowy figure in a boardroom. The villain is a story. It is the story you were told before you were old enough to question it. The story goes like this: go to school, get good grades, go to a good college, get a degree, get a good job, work hard, get promoted, buy a house, start a family, retire at 65, die. That story was written for you before you were born. It was handed to your parents by their parents, who received it from the generation that crawled out of the Depression with trembling hands and swore on everything they loved, that their children would never feel that kind of fear again. And so they built a cage out of safety and called it the American dream. But the cruelest part, the part that keeps me up at night when I think about it, is that the cage is invisible, because it is not made of steel or stone. It is made of social approval. It is made of your father's proud smile when you got your first salaried position. It is made of your mother telling her friends, "My daughter is a doctor." It is made of your neighbor's respect, your spouse's sense of security, your children's expectation that the life they know will continue uninterrupted. You are not held in place by chains. You are held in place by love. And that is why it is so hard to leave. So what do? How do you escape a prison when the walls are made of everything you care about? This is where most people expect me to say something simple. Start a side hustle. Invest in real estate. Learn to code. And I am not going to tell you any of that, because all of those things are just different flavors of the same trap if the underlying mentality has not changed. You can quit your corporate job and start a business and within 2 years be right back in the same cage, just with a different title on the door. Instead of senior vice president, it says founder and CEO. But you are still working 70 hours a week. You are still chasing a number. You are still performing for approval. The office changed. The prison did not. The real escape is not a career change. It is a psychological revolution. And it starts with one brutal, uncomfortable act. You have to separate who you are from what you do. That sounds simple. It is the hardest thing you will ever attempt. Because the fusion of identity and occupation has been reinforced every single day of your life since you were 5 years old and someone asked you, what do you want to be when you grow up? Not, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? As if your very being, your existence, your worth as a human, is determined by your economic function. That question is the first brick in the wall. Here is what the escape actually looks like. It starts with a number, not a salary, an exit number. You need to know, down to the last dollar, what it costs you to exist. Not to live the lifestyle you have been told you should have, but to actually exist, roof over your head, food on the table, lights on. For most people, when they actually sit down and calculate this, the number is shockingly lower than what they are currently spending. All the money above that number, the money going to the leased car, the oversized house, the clothes you wear to impress people you do not like, that is the tax you are paying for the privilege of staying inside the trap. And once you see that number, once you really see it, something shifts. Because suddenly freedom is not some abstract dream you will achieve at 65 if the market does not crash and your health holds out. Freedom becomes a math problem, and math problems have solutions. You start cutting, not out of deprivation, but out of clarity. Every dollar you do not spend is a day of freedom you are buying back from the system. Every subscription you cancel, every status symbol you release, every expectation you refuse to meet, these are not sacrifices. These are acts of rebellion. You are not giving things up. You are getting yourself back. The second part of the escape is harder. You have to build something that is yours. And I do not mean a business, not necessarily. I mean a skill, a craft, a body of knowledge that belongs to you and not to your employer. Because the most dangerous feature of professionalism is that it makes your skills institutional. You become an expert at navigating this particular company's systems, this particular industry's language, this particular hierarchy's politics, and none of that transfers. The day you leave, or the day they decide you are too expensive and replace you with someone younger, all of that expertise evaporates like steam. You're starting over at zero, but now you're 47 years old and you have a mortgage. The person who escapes is the person who spends their evenings and weekends building something portable, something that lives in their hands and their mind, not on a company server. It could be writing. It could be coding. It could be welding. It could be growing food. I do not care what it is. What matters is that it is yours, that no one can fire you from it. that no board of directors can restructure it out of existence. That is real security. Not a title, not a salary, a skill that you own and that the world needs. And the final piece, the piece that nobody wants to hear, is time. You have to reclaim your relationship with time, because the professional world has taught you that time is money. And that is perhaps the most destructive lie ever told. Time is not money. Money is renewable. You can always make more money. You cannot make more time. Every hour you spend in a meeting that could have been an email, every evening you spend answering messages from a boss who does not respect your boundaries, every weekend you spend recovering from a week that never should have been that exhausting, that is time you are donating to someone else's dream. And they are not even saying thank you. So here is my question to you. And I want you to sit with this, really sit with it, not just hear it and move on to the next video. If you stripped away the title, the salary, the office, the business card, the LinkedIn profile, the approval of everyone who told you that you were doing it right, if you stripped all of that away and stood alone in a room with nothing but your own reflection, would you recognize the person staring back at you? Or have you been wearing the mask so long that you have forgotten there is a face underneath? That man I described at the beginning, the one with the suit and the leased car and the stone in his chest every Sunday night, he is not a cautionary tale. He is the norm. He is what the system was designed to produce. And the fact that you're still listening, the fact that something in these words is landing somewhere deep in your gut, that is not discomfort. That is your instinct, the one you were trained to ignore, trying to tell you something it has been trying to say for years. The cage door is not locked. It never was. You just have to be willing to lose everything the cage taught you to value in order to find the one thing it never wanted you to have. And that thing, the thing on the other side of the fear, is not wealth or success, or even freedom in the way you currently understand it. It is something much simpler and much more terrifying. It is you, the real you, the one who existed before anyone told you what to be. And that person is not a professional. That person is alive.